The station loomed in the void like a shard of crystal suspended in darkness. Celestara Station was a sprawling hub of light and sound, a place where traders, diplomats, and adventurers from across the galaxy gathered. Every corridor echoed with the hum of engines, the chatter of aliens, and the soft clinking of human boots against polished floors. Here, alliances were made, deals were brokered, and reputations were tested. And today, it was a human who would challenge every expectation. Lena Carter stepped off the sleek, silver shuttle with a calm that made the bustling terminal pause, if only for a fraction of a second. She didn't rush. She didn't fumble with her luggage. Every movement was deliberate. Every step was measured. Her eyes scanned the crowd, noting the mixture of curiosity, skepticism, and even disdain that flickered on alien faces. It didn't bother her. It never had. Humans were small in the galaxy's hierarchy, often underestimated, often dismissed as primitive or reckless. But Lena had never cared about underestimation. If anything, she found it amusing. There was a certain thrill in walking boldly into the unknown, in letting others think they had the upper hand, while she quietly measured the room and its players. She straightened her jacket, took a slow breath, and moved forward. The terminal was crowded. Merchants shouted their wares in languages Lena didn't know. Alien officials argued heatedly over trade quotas and interstellar laws. Travelers hurried past, eyes glued to screens or datapads, and yet, Lena walked as if the entire station existed to make way for her. She smiled faintly, a soft curve of lips that suggested she was both confident and unafraid. That smile was disarming. Even the most cautious of alien guards found themselves stepping aside instinctively, almost without realizing it. Lena's path took her to the central command hall, a circular chamber suspended above the station's main floor, where diplomats from hundreds of systems gathered to settle disputes and discuss policies. The hall was tense, filled with chatter, murmurs, and the occasional raised voice. She could feel the collective gaze of dozens of species upon her. Some curious, some skeptical, and some outright hostile. She paused at the entrance, letting the murmurs wash over her. The air was thick with judgment, with centuries of political tension and interspecies rivalry. And yet, Lena did not hesitate. She stepped forward, shoulders squared, head held high, her smile never fading. It was as if she carried an invisible force field of calm around her. The aliens inside the room, so used to their own protocols and displays of power, felt something unfamiliar. Presence. She did not announce herself with words or ceremony. She simply walked in, bold and unapologetic, and the room began to shift. Some of the diplomats tried to ignore her, hoping she would be just another human blip, insignificant and soon forgotten. Others leaned forward, curiosity prying at their pride. Lena's eyes moved across the room, taking in every detail. She noticed the tense posture of a reptilian ambassador, the flicker of uncertainty in a hovering insectoid diplomat, the careful calculation in the eyes of the Avran twins. Each observer was measuring her, testing her. Lena returned their gazes evenly, as if saying silently, "I see you, and I am not afraid." When she finally reached the center, she paused, letting the silence stretch just enough to command attention. Then, with a gentle but firm voice, she began to speak, not loudly, not arrogantly, but with clarity and authority that immediately drew every ear in the room. Her words were simple, yet precise. She acknowledged the concerns of each group, summarizing disputes that had lasted for decades in a way that was both fair and insightful. She suggested solutions that no one had considered, ideas that bridged the gaps between species and offered mutual benefit. The room, initially cold and resistant, began to respond. Aliens who had been poised to argue now leaned in, listening intently. Whispers replaced jeers. Heads nodded, first subtly, then more openly. Even the most stubborn delegates could not ignore the quiet power in Lena's words, the steady confidence in her smile. She did not demand respect. She inspired it. At one point, a senior Varkonian diplomat, broad-shouldered, scaled, and clearly unimpressed, rose to challenge her. He spoke in booming tones, his voice echoing off the chamber walls, questioning the capability of humans, questioning Lena herself. Many expected her to falter, to stumble under the weight of centuries of interstellar bias. She did not flinch. She did not hesitate. She smiled, calm and disarming, and responded with careful logic. She acknowledged his concerns, reframed them with context, and presented a path forward that made sense to everyone in the room. By the time she finished, the Varkonian's expression was unreadable. He had expected a timid human, and instead, he had met someone who was not just capable, but commanding. The crowd's reaction was subtle at first. A few delegates exchanged glances, then others began to murmur approval. By the end of her first statement, the energy in the room had shifted completely. Aliens who had intended to dismiss her were now quietly considering her words. Humans, too, felt a spark of pride, seeing one of their own not just present among the stars, but thriving, respected, and unshakable. Lena didn't bask in the moment. She didn't seek applause or acknowledgement. Her focus was singular: understanding the room, identifying the tensions, and finding solutions. Every smile, every nod, every small gesture was a tool she used to guide the conversation. It was a subtle power, the kind that did not intimidate but rather drew others in. Hours passed as the debates continued. Lena navigated the discussions with skill, diffusing conflicts before they escalated, offering compromises that satisfied multiple parties, and demonstrating an uncanny understanding of alien cultures. When she spoke, delegates listened. When she paused, they waited. By the time the first shift of the station's lights changed from blue to gold, Lena had not only survived her first day in the command hall, she had transformed it. Outside the chamber, humans whispered in awe, and aliens shared quiet reassessments of their assumptions. Lena's reputation, already notable across several star systems, grew even stronger. She had not raised her voice. She had not used intimidation. She had simply walked in boldly, let go of any fear, and smiled as if she owned the room. And in doing so, she had done what humans often did best: turned doubt into respect through courage, intelligence, and presence. As the day ended, Lena walked back through the terminal, the crowds parting naturally around her. Some observers followed with cautious curiosity, while others simply stared in disbelief. She returned to her shuttle, ready to rest, ready to prepare for the negotiations that would come tomorrow. But she knew one thing for certain. Humans had just proven, once again, that boldness and clarity could make them equals in a galaxy that often underestimated them. Even as the stars outside the station shimmered cold and distant, Lena smiled. Not a smile of arrogance, but a smile of quiet confidence. The galaxy was wide. The challenges were many, but Lena Carter was ready, and somehow, simply by walking boldly, by letting go of fear, she had reminded everyone present that humanity was not to be ignored. The bold human had arrived, and the galaxy would never look at humans the same way again. The next morning, the command hall was alive with anticipation. Rumors of Lena Carter's bold entry and sharp negotiation skills had spread throughout Celestara Station. Alien delegates who had once doubted humanity now watched her with cautious respect, while others still carried an air of skepticism. Not everyone was ready to welcome a human into their affairs. Some were ready to test her limits, to challenge her resolve, and to see if the boldness she had displayed yesterday was only luck. Lena arrived promptly, her movements calm and deliberate. She walked through the station corridors with her usual poise, her eyes scanning every detail. She noticed the subtle shifts in alien postures, the nervous twitch of an Avran delegate's antenna, the careful adjustment of a Varkonian's armored shoulder pads, the soft vibrations of the insectoid delegates communicating in hushed tones. Each signal was information, and Lena absorbed it without hesitation. She did not need to speak to understand the room. Her presence alone already commanded attention. As she entered the hall, the atmosphere changed immediately. Whispers died down, and the delegates turned their eyes toward her. There was a tension, a mixture of expectation and challenge, that filled the chamber. This time, Lena knew she would face a test unlike the one yesterday. not just the test of intelligence or wit, but of courage and diplomacy under pressure. The first challenge arrived sooner than she expected. Varkon, the broad-shouldered Varkonian ambassador who had openly questioned her abilities, rose from his seat. His scaled skin glinted in the soft lights of the hall, and his voice boomed with authority as he addressed the assembly. "Yesterday, we witnessed the human speak," he said, his tone sharp and deliberate. "But can humanity truly understand the complexities of interstellar governance? Or are we to be entertained by bold gestures and pretty words?" Some delegates chuckled, some nodded in agreement. But Lena remained unshaken. She let the murmurs fade and then stepped forward, her posture calm, her eyes steady. She smiled softly, not as an act of arrogance, but as a gesture of confidence. The smile disarmed, it softened the sharp edges of tension, and it drew attention without demanding it. "Bold gestures and words are only useful," she began, "if they lead to solutions that benefit everyone. Today, I am not here to entertain. I am here to solve a problem that has troubled this council for decades." She paused, letting her words sink in. The room fell silent. Every eye followed her movements. Even Varkon's gaze, sharp and challenging, did not waver. Lena continued, outlining a plan to resolve a dispute over interstellar resource distribution. Multiple systems claimed rights to rare minerals found in uncharted asteroids. The conflict had created tension, slowed trade, and threatened alliances. Delegates had debated it for decades, with no agreement in sight. Lena proposed a solution that combined logic, fairness, and creativity. She suggested a rotating schedule of resource claims, shared research facilities, and joint defense measures for the mining operations. Her proposal considered the unique cultures and priorities of each species, and it offered a long-term benefit that had been overlooked by more conventional approaches. The reaction was immediate. Murmurs filled the room, but this time, they were different. They were curious, intrigued, and even impressed. Delegates who had dismissed humanity now found themselves rethinking assumptions. Some leaned forward, whispering to their neighbors. Others scribbled notes or adjusted their tablets, calculating the benefits of her plan. Varkon, however, was not easily impressed. He rose again, his bulk casting a shadow over the smaller human. "You propose fairness, human," he said, his voice low but menacing. "But fairness is not power. Power decides who controls resources. You do not understand how the galaxy operates." Lena's smile did not falter. She stepped closer, her tone calm, but her words precise. "Power without wisdom is fleeting," she replied. "If control is gained through intimidation or fear, it will never last. The galaxy has endured for millions of years because civilizations that cooperate endure longer than those that dominate. I am not offering weakness, I am offering strength, the strength of unity and foresight." For a moment, the room was silent, as if holding its collective breath. Then whispers began again, growing louder, but this time in support. Aliens who had once doubted her started nodding. Even Varkon's expression softened slightly, though he would not admit it. Lena had not shouted, she had not threatened. And yet, she had achieved something remarkable. She had shifted the room's perception of humans. The discussion continued for hours, with Lena skillfully guiding the conversation. She addressed questions from every species, finding common ground where none seemed possible. She offered compromises that no one had expected and solutions that bridged differences between cultures. Her ability to listen, understand, and respond with clarity made her a force to be reckoned with. As the debate grew more intense, a small alarm sounded from the station's monitoring systems. Delegates paused, curious and concerned. Lena's eyes narrowed slightly as she turned toward the source. Reports indicated unusual activity near the outer docking bays. An unregistered vessel had approached the station without authorization. Lena did not panic. She did not hesitate. She immediately requested a full security report and ordered the station defenses to be on alert. The delegates murmured nervously. An unregistered ship was dangerous. It could be a spy, a smuggler, or worse. The station had seen attacks before, though they were rare. Lena stepped forward and addressed the room again, her voice steady. "We will handle this calmly. Panic achieves nothing. Let us prepare for the situation logically, and together. That. We will handle this calmly." Security personnel scurried to their stations, while Lena coordinated with alien officials, demonstrating her ability to lead under pressure. Her clear instructions and calm demeanor inspired confidence. Humans and aliens alike followed her guidance without question. It was rare to see such cohesion among such different species, yet Lena managed it effortlessly. Minutes later, the threat revealed itself. A rogue faction had sent a small fleet of ships, intent on disrupting the Council and asserting control over the disputed resources. The hall erupted into concern and panic, but Lena remained composed. She quickly devised a plan that utilized the station's defenses and the skills of multiple species. She organized human engineers to reinforce energy shields, alien pilots to patrol the perimeter, and diplomats to maintain calm among the delegates. As the rogue ships approached, Lena's leadership became undeniable. She communicated with clarity and authority, delegating tasks, anticipating the enemy's moves, and keeping everyone focused. The rogue ships fired warning shots, but they were intercepted by coordinated defenses. Lena's strategies minimized damage, protected the delegates, and forced the intruders to retreat. By the time the danger had passed, the room erupted not with fear, but with admiration. Aliens and humans alike had witnessed something extraordinary. A human who walked boldly, thought quickly, and acted decisively under pressure. Lena's smile returned, gentle and confident, as she addressed the delegates once more. "This was a challenge," she said softly. "But it is also an opportunity. We can choose to respond with fear, or we can choose to respond with unity. Today, we chose unity." Even Varkon, the critic who had doubted her at every turn, nodded silently. Lena's actions had spoken louder than any words could. She had demonstrated that leadership was not about size, species, or reputation. It was about courage, intelligence, and the ability to inspire trust. Humans had often been underestimated, but today they had shown that boldness and clarity could turn fear into respect. As the council adjourned for a brief recess, delegates whispered among themselves. Many were still processing what they had witnessed. Lena walked through the hall with calm grace, acknowledging nods and subtle gestures of respect. She did not boast. She did not demand attention. She simply walked, confident in her abilities, and in doing so, reminded everyone present that humans were not only capable, they were essential participants in the galaxy's affairs. The incident near the docking bays had been a test, a sudden challenge designed to provoke fear and chaos. Lena had met it with composure and strategy, and in doing so, she had not only protected the council and the station but had also solidified her reputation as a human who could walk boldly into any room, face any challenge, and emerge with respect earned, not demanded. By the end of the day, the council reconvened, and Lena's proposals for resource distribution were taken seriously. Discussions were more focused, more cooperative, and more productive than they had been in decades. Aliens who had doubted humans now looked at Lena with a mixture of admiration and cautious hope. Humans, too, felt pride swelling in their chests. Seeing one of their own demonstrate that boldness, intelligence, and courage could command respect in a galaxy that had long underestimated them. As she left the command hall that evening, Lena allowed herself a quiet moment of reflection. The galaxy was vast, full of dangers and uncertainties, but she had proven that a human, armed with courage, clarity, and determination, could not only survive in this environment, but could thrive, lead, and inspire. And tomorrow, when the negotiations resumed, she would be ready to walk boldly once again. Because Lena Carter did not just enter rooms, she owned them with her presence, her intelligence, and her unwavering confidence. And the galaxy, for the first time in a long while, was taking notice. The day began with a soft glow spilling across Celestara Station, illuminating the corridors and casting long shadows on the polished floors. Lena Carter walked through the terminal as usual, calm and deliberate. But today she felt the weight of the events from yesterday. The rogue faction's attack had shaken the council, and whispers still circulated among delegates about human ingenuity and boldness. Yet Lena knew that admiration could quickly turn to skepticism if she faltered even slightly. Confidence alone was not enough. She would need to prove herself again. The command hall was already bustling with activity. Delegates from dozens of systems had returned, each bringing their own priorities, concerns, and agendas. Some looked at Lena with respect, others with suspicion, and a few still carried quiet resentment. Power in the galaxy was never shared easily, and a human taking a central role was a novelty some were not willing to accept. Before the formal meetings began, a high-ranking officer from the station approached Lena. "Unusual readings," he said, voice tight. "Sensors have detected multiple small craft moving near the outer perimeter. They are unregistered, and some are armed." Lena's eyes narrowed slightly, but her expression remained calm. "Have the fleets been alerted?" "Civilian traffic? All accounted for," the officer replied. "But the craft are fast, and their approach is unusual. They are not responding to standard hails." Lena took a slow breath, allowing herself a moment to think. The situation required immediate action, but panic would solve nothing. She moved toward the central command hall, signaling the station's defense teams and delegates to prepare. Her presence was steadying, and those around her followed without hesitation. Humans and aliens alike had learned to trust her judgment. As she entered the hall, the delegates noticed the change in atmosphere. Lena did not speak immediately. Instead, she walked with the same deliberate grace, her gaze scanning every corner, every screen, every display. The silence in the room deepened as her presence settled over the assembly. Then, she spoke, her voice calm but firm. "We are facing a challenge, one that requires focus, cooperation, and clear thinking. Panic will not help us. Let us handle this together." The delegates shifted, exchanging glances, some nodding in agreement. It was unusual for a human to address a council with such authority, and yet, none could deny the effect it had. Confidence, after all, was contagious. Minutes later, the outer perimeter cameras confirmed the threat. A fleet of sleek, dark ships, moving in coordinated patterns, clearly intending to surround the station. Lena immediately assessed the situation. These ships were not merely raiders, they were trained and strategic. She realized that defending the station would require more than firepower. It would require intelligence, coordination, and inspiration. She turned to the assembled delegates. "We need to defend the station and protect the council. I will coordinate our efforts. Each of you, work with your teams. We can turn this threat into an opportunity not just to survive, but to demonstrate the strength of unity." Some delegates hesitated. They were used to threats being handled by professional security teams, not by a human diplomat standing in the middle of a chamber. Lena noticed their doubt but did not waver. She issued precise instructions, organizing patrols, setting shields, and coordinating defense protocols. She combined strategies from multiple species, adapting them to the station's unique systems. The first wave of attack arrived faster than expected. The rogue ships launched energy pulses toward the station, testing its defenses. Alarms blared, and the council gasped. But Lena remained focused. She directed energy shields to critical points, adjusted power outputs, and guided pilots to intercept the attackers. "Hold the line," she instructed, her voice steady. "Do not panic. We can outmaneuver them if we work together." Delegates watched as humans and aliens executed her orders with precision. Her strategy relied on coordination, not brute force, and it worked. One by one, the attacking ships were pushed back, their formations disrupted by careful countermeasures. The rogue fleet's confidence faltered, and Lena seized the opportunity. "Focus on the perimeter and protect the civilian sectors," she commanded. "Use the energy channels to redirect their attacks. Force them to split their forces." Her directions were clear, simple, and effective. The station's defenses responded immediately, guided by her calm and decisive leadership. Delegates who had doubted humanity now saw something remarkable. A human who not only thought quickly under pressure, but also inspired cooperation among diverse species. As the battle continued, Lena noticed an unusual tactic. One of the rogue ships attempted to slip past the main defenses, aiming for the docking bay where civilian ships were moored. Without hesitation, Lena dispatched a small squadron, combining human pilots and alien allies. They intercepted the rogue craft before it could reach the civilians, forcing it to retreat. The council watched in awe. The human diplomat who had walked boldly into their chamber and smiled as if she owned the room was now guiding a defense that saved hundreds of lives. Her calm demeanor, her clear thinking, and her ability to unify disparate forces were extraordinary. After hours of coordinated effort, the rogue fleet began to withdraw. Their attempts to breach the station had failed, and their confidence in victory was broken. Lena allowed herself a brief smile, acknowledging the successful defense. She then addressed the council once more. "This was a test," she said, "not just of our strength, but of our ability to work together. We have shown that unity, courage, and clear thinking can overcome even the most organized threats. Let this be a reminder. Fear divides us, but purpose unites us." The delegates applauded. Some quietly, others openly. Varkon, the Varkonian ambassador who had been her fiercest critic, approached Lena, his massive frame looming but his tone restrained. "You have shown skill, human," he said. "Perhaps we underestimated humanity. Today, you have earned our attention." Lena nodded, acknowledging the compliment without arrogance. "I am not here to prove humans are superior," she replied. "I am here to prove that courage, intelligence, and collaboration can achieve results that benefit everyone." For the first time, Varkon's expression softened. He could not deny her accomplishments, nor could he ignore the respect she had earned. The other delegates followed his lead, some nodding in agreement, others murmuring in admiration. Humans had never been this influential in the council, yet here they were, standing as equals among centuries-old civilizations. The day ended with the council agreeing to resume discussions on interstellar trade and resource distribution. This time, with a renewed sense of cooperation, Lena's proposals were taken seriously, her strategies analyzed, and her insights valued. The rogue attack had inadvertently strengthened her position, demonstrating that humans could not only negotiate but also act decisively when circumstances demanded it. As she walked through the corridors after the council adjourned, Lena noticed subtle changes in the station's atmosphere. Humans held their heads higher, inspired by her example. Aliens watched her with a mixture of respect and curiosity, some even seeking her advice on unrelated matters. She smiled softly to herself. This was not the result of fear or intimidation. It was the result of boldness, clarity, and unwavering confidence. Later, Lena stood at the observation deck, looking out at the vast expanse of stars beyond the station. The rogue fleet was gone, scattered into the void, but their presence had left a lasting impression. The galaxy was wide, full of challenges and dangers, but also full of opportunities for those willing to face them with courage. She knew the days ahead would be filled with more tests, more challenges, and more skeptics. But Lena Carter was ready. She had proven that a human could walk boldly into any room, face adversity without hesitation, and lead with intelligence and heart. She had earned the respect of seasoned diplomats and powerful aliens alike, and she would continue to earn it. One decisive action at a time. The stars outside seemed to shimmer a little brighter as Lena turned from the observation deck. Her mission was far from over, but she had already achieved something remarkable. She had shown the galaxy that humans were not to be underestimated, that even in a universe filled with ancient civilizations, advanced technology, and immense power, boldness, courage, and clarity could change the course of events. And as she prepared for the next council session, Lena smiled again, the same calm, confident smile she wore when she first entered the command hall. It was a smile that carried promise, a smile that inspired trust, and a smile that reminded everyone that she was not just a human in the galaxy. She was a force, a presence, and a leader who would not be ignored. The station was quiet at first light. But the calm was temporary. The events of the past 2 days had set the galaxy buzzing with curiosity and cautious admiration for Lena Carter. Every corridor, every observation deck, and every council chamber seemed charged with anticipation. Delegates whispered among themselves, discussing not just the outcomes of negotiations, but the human who had orchestrated them. She had walked boldly, smiled calmly, and turned doubt into respect. Yet Lena knew the galaxy was unpredictable. Challenges would come, sometimes from places no one expected. She arrived at the command hall, her stride purposeful, her posture relaxed but commanding. Today's meeting was not just another round of negotiations. Today, the Council faced a critical decision. An agreement on interstellar trade and resource sharing that could redefine alliances for decades. Many species were protective of their territories and resources. Humans, despite their recent successes, were still newcomers, and skepticism lingered. As Lena entered the hall, heads turned. The Varkonian ambassador, still imposing, inclined his head slightly in recognition. Other delegates nodded or murmured greetings, subtle acknowledgments of respect earned through courage and wisdom. Lena's smile was calm, warm, and deliberate. She did not need to assert herself. Her presence alone set the tone. Confident, composed, and unshakable. The session began with routine discussions, but tensions soon rose. Representatives from multiple systems argued over claim rights to a rare mineral, one that was vital for both energy production and technological advancement. Years of disputes had hardened attitudes. Diplomats shouted, voices overlapping, and tempers flared. Some delegates looked toward Lena, silently asking for guidance. She rose from her seat, letting the room settle with her quiet authority. "Let us remember," she said, her voice steady, "that our goal is not victory for one, but benefit for all. Conflict may give temporary advantage, but cooperation creates lasting strength. We can choose either path today." A silence fell over the chamber. Delegates who had been ready to argue were forced to pause and consider her words. Lena's ability to focus the room without force or intimidation had become her signature. A human quality that others had rarely seen. She smiled softly, allowing the pause to deepen. Respect was growing, not demanded but earned, through presence and clarity. Then came a test Lena had not anticipated. A minor faction of diplomats, still resentful of human involvement, attempted to sabotage the talks. They presented false data and exaggerated threats, hoping to manipulate outcomes in their favor. The room's tension thickened, and some delegates were ready to fall into panic or confusion. Lena observed carefully. She understood that a clever response, rather than confrontation, would diffuse the situation. She walked to the center of the hall, her gaze meeting the eyes of every species present. "We have been given information," she began, calm and deliberate. "It is our duty to verify, to question, and to act with wisdom. Panic and assumption achieve nothing." She asked her team to review the data, cross-checking with multiple sources and even consulting alien intelligence databases. Within minutes, discrepancies were revealed. The false claims were exposed, and the culprits were unable to hide their manipulation. The room shifted again. Murmurs of approval replaced whispers of doubt. Lena had diffused tension without accusation, without raising her voice, and without humiliation. Her strategy highlighted human intelligence and patience, showing that clever thinking and calm action could achieve what aggression often could not. Delegates who had doubted her earlier now looked at humans as equals in wisdom and judgment. With the deception exposed, Lena refocused the discussion on real issues. She proposed a rotational sharing system for the rare mineral, balancing resource extraction, transportation security, and environmental concerns. The plan was detailed yet simple, designed to meet the needs of multiple civilizations while preventing future conflict. She anticipated objections before they were voiced, addressing them calmly and thoroughly. The Varkonian ambassador, who had been skeptical since her arrival, finally spoke. "This plan demonstrates foresight," he admitted, his voice steady. Perhaps humans are not as inexperienced as some of us believed. Perhaps they can contribute meaningfully to galactic governance. Lena inclined her head respectfully. We can all contribute, she replied. Experience is valuable, but courage, clarity, and collaboration are equally important. Together, we are stronger than any one species alone. The Council reached consensus after hours of discussion. Agreements were drafted, terms finalized, and measures implemented to ensure cooperation and enforcement. For the first time in decades, disputes over the mineral were resolved amicably, with all parties satisfied. Humans, guided by Lena's leadership, were no longer seen as outsiders, but as capable and trustworthy participants in the galaxy's affairs. The negotiations complete. Lena stepped back to observe. Delegates lingered, exchanging nods and congratulations, some seeking her counsel on unrelated matters. She smiled quietly. The galaxy was beginning to understand that humans could be leaders, not through force or intimidation, but through boldness, intelligence, and unshakable presence. Outside the hall, the station's observation deck offered a breathtaking view of the stars, stretching endlessly into the void. Lena leaned on the railing, reflecting on the past days, the rogue fleet, the council disputes, and the manipulation by minor factions had all been challenges she had met with courage and strategy. She realized that humanity's greatest strength was not in technology or numbers alone, but in the ability to act decisively, think creatively, and inspire trust. As she gazed into the cosmos, a communication alert flashed. A message from the United Earth Council appeared, congratulating her on the successful negotiations and the defense of Celestara Station. They praised her courage and intelligence, noting that humans were beginning to earn recognition across systems that had long dismissed them. Lena allowed herself a small smile. Recognition was gratifying, but it was not the goal. The goal was proving, to herself and to the galaxy, that humans could face challenges boldly and succeed. Later, as evening settled over the station, Lena walked through the corridors once more. Humans, she passed, looked up with pride, and aliens offered nods of respect, some even seeking her opinion on complex matters. Her reputation was no longer that of a newcomer, it was that of a human who could walk boldly into a room, face challenges with clarity, and emerge respected by civilizations far older and larger than her own. News of her achievements spread quickly. Reports circulated throughout nearby systems, telling of the human diplomat who had stopped a rogue fleet, navigated complex negotiations, and unified species that had long been rivals. For many, Lena became a symbol of human potential, proof that courage, intelligence, and boldness could not only survive in the galaxy but thrive. By night, Lena returned to her quarters, exhausted but satisfied. The past days had tested every skill she possessed: diplomacy, strategy, patience, and courage. She reflected on the journey, realizing that each challenge had reinforced a simple truth. Humans could achieve greatness not by demanding power, but by walking boldly, letting go of fear, and inspiring others through presence and action. She looked out of the window at the distant stars, imagining the endless possibilities that lay ahead. The galaxy was vast, filled with civilizations, mysteries, and challenges. But she no longer saw it as intimidating. She saw it as a place where humans could make their mark, where courage and clarity could create alliances, where boldness could transform doubt into respect. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new negotiations, and perhaps new threats. Yet Lena Carter was ready. She had proven herself, not once, but repeatedly, that a human could navigate the complexities of alien politics, lead in times of danger, and inspire respect through confidence and intelligence. She had shown that humans could walk boldly into any room and smile as if they owned it, not through arrogance, but through skill, courage, and unwavering presence. As she turned away from the window, Lena allowed herself a final thought. This was only the beginning. The galaxy was wide and full of possibilities, and humanity was ready to face them. With each bold step, each thoughtful decision, and each calm smile, Lena would continue to prove that humans belonged among the stars not as observers, but as leaders, innovators, and collaborators. The stars outside twinkled softly, as if acknowledging her resolve. The galaxy had taken notice, and it would remember the human who had walked boldly, faced challenges with courage, and smiled as if she owned every room she entered. And Lena Carter, the human diplomat who had dared to be bold, was just getting started.